Hello everyone and welcome back to the Iron Ogre channel, and today we are going to be reviewing season 1 of a show called Life on Mars. Now this show, it seems like a random video, doesn't it? But honestly, this show, I've just gotten really into it. I've fallen in love with it instantly because, how comedic it is. And, I thought, why not review it? So let's get into this. Something I hear people say is, if a movie has, a not very clear story or, character development isn't too good, I hear some people say, well, if it tries to be funny and it works, then you can forgive it. Well, not only is this show incredibly funny, but, the story seems to work with me. Let's talk about, the comedic stuff. I laughed my ass off at this show, mainly at this character that's on your screen called Gene Hunt. He's the governor and he's like boss of police, and he says the funniest things ever. It gets me laughing. Like I don't remember laughing this much at a show recently at all. So he's like my favourite character and all. And there's some other quite funny characters, but they're just not really on this level. I mean, obviously characters like make, Gene Hunt funny. Like characters have to be there for Gene Hunt to be funny. Like you have to say something to someone or say something about someone for it to be funny. So yeah, I think the characters are pretty great as well. The comedy works usually. Okay, now the characters in the show, they're great. I think they have pretty great chemistry. I think the chemistry between Gene Hunt and Sam Tyler is really great because they hate each other, because they both have very different views on how, detecting, if that's what you call it, should be done, which, is very interesting way of rivalry, because it isn't just the whole, they just hate each other because they hate each other. No, there's a reason. They have very different views on how the police stuff should be done. Sam Tyler's pretty calm and all that when he's like, in talking to central suspect, but Gene Hunt just smacks up the truth out of people. He just beats the truth out, which honestly, if the person is definitely looking to be the criminal that they're looking for, and a lot of the evidence points to him, then honestly I agree with what Gene Hunt would be doing. Every now and then you're like, I don't think he should be doing that, not enough evidence, and sometimes you just beat the hell out of someone who doesn't end up being that criminal. But it's just 1973, innit? And everyone has great chemistry. I really like Annie's character because she's sort of like a love interest to Sam Tyler, but they're not full out love interest. You can see the sparks between them, but they're not really together at all. I like Ray. I don't know why I like him so much. Maybe it's because the guy who plays Ray is in Emmerdale. But I like him. He just looks like a policeman, you know what I mean? He's got the moustache, he smokes bare cigs, he's got that coat, and he's, the right, body. He's just got the right body, really. Chris, he's an okay character, really. I don't get too much laughs from him, but, he's dopey, and, we need a dopey character, and every character has the specific characteristic. Sam Tyler's always cracking with that case, and he's just, usually just really nice to everyone, and usually she doesn't get offended when people are like, oh yeah, bird, you're hot, yeah, nice ass, they're great characters. And every character is cast very well, even like characters like Ray, who hardly even talks in these episodes, to be honest. He's just sort of stands there chewing gum, which is another reason why I like him. He just chews gum a lot. And like Chris, pretty much every character. I couldn't really imagine anyone else playing that character, especially Gene Hunt. No one can ever replace that actor who plays him. He just he has that charm to him. You know what I mean? Like, if you looked different and cracked those jokes and sounded different, it wouldn't be as funny. The guy's just pretty much perfect. And yes, that is very great. And right off the bat, in the first episode, you're already intrigued with the story, with what's happening. Basically, the guy, is in a coma, and he ends up in 1973. And here's a little bit of a negative here. I mean, it's not too big, but, if, you can spot some things in the background, like a type of windows where, like, they weren't in 1973, were they? But, you can forgive it, if you don't have the biggest budget in the world, it's a TV show. And, the storytelling is very great. The way that, he can almost kind of communicate with the people in the hospital, which is really cool, because a lot of people always say when you're in a coma you can hear people, and they do something like that, but it's very interesting. And I think the guy who plays Sam is doing a very good job acting, and you can feel his pain. He's stuck in this world, and he can't even ever see his family. And another thing is at the beginning of the episode, is Mia, his girlfriend Mia, is kidnapped and they're looking for her. By the end of the first episode, they say that, like, she's been found, and she's alright. Honestly, I wish they didn't do that, because, like, it'll be more intense, and it'll keep you intrigued, because if they'd never revealed that and they did it, like, after, at some point when he got out the coma, we'd be like, oh god, is he gonna get Mia, is he too late, So yeah, it just sort of kind of lost that feeling a bit, where you're thinking, oh god, you better get out soon, because clock's ticking, Mia's gone, oh no. But yeah, that's just a negative there. The story in general seems pretty original. If they really wanted to, it could have just been a very standard cop show, just random cops, solving crimes, not too much laughs. But no, this one puts in comedy that usually lands, mostly lands. And also, the guy is from the future and no one believes him, and you're also having very many questions that will hopefully be answered by the end of the series. I don't know, but he's in a coma, and he's in 1973, and he keeps having these signs that things that are happening, out in the outside world, in the real world, in the future, whatever you may call that. And I've not seen many shows like that. They could do this with a lot of things. They could do this with military, where someone's in a coma. This thing could just become a whole genre. That's how great it is. And I'm gonna say it right here, Brooklyn Nine-Nine is a very popular show, but I think this show is better than Brooklyn Nine-Nine. It's just way more funnier. Also, the music in the show is very good. It repeats a lot of weird sounds that you hear throughout the show. That Sam really doesn't like the sound of, like this whistle noise and other things. And, it gets really annoying in a good way, because you just feel as tormented as Sam, which I think is what they were going for. And they definitely succeeded very well with that. Also, the show just genuinely has pretty good action when it happens, Sometimes there's like a big fight, like there's like at least 10 people in a fight. I also like it when they're undercover. That's pretty good, especially when they're in that pub. I also really like it when actors from other TV shows, come in, that I'm like, oh yo, that's him. Like I said before, the guy who plays Ray is from Emmerdale. And there's a bald guy in Coronation Street, who was in this show, and he's got loads of hair, which is funny, because in Coronation Street he's bald, and that just, added a lot more fun to the episode. And yeah, you just, in all the crime scenes, most of the crimes that happen in an episode, you get really into them. You really want to know what's going on, because sometimes there's a big mystery. Like, there was this thing where, like, this guy died of getting drugged of cocaine, but, like, no one knew how he got drugged, because he never does drugs, and he's been, in the police station for hours and hours, and he would have died by now if he did it before. And there's a big twist at the end that it was one of the officers that, drugged him, but he meant well, he just tried to get the truth out of him. So then, Sam Tyler has to make the decision to, tell the more important people about it, and then his whole team is destroyed. They can't do any more crimes, and the guy who did drug that guy has solved way more crimes than anyone else in the whole team. And you gotta think his love interest, the person he really likes, she'd be out of a job as well. He has to decide with that and what's right. So that was a very powerful episode. And the last episode of this season was him ending up having to arrest his dad while trying to. And that's actually a very emotional episode because his dad left him, he never knew why. And in this episode he finds out that he basically just batters, a policewoman, which is mad. But I mean, he goes back in time, doesn't he, and he stops, him from actually doing too much damage to her. But I mean, he's still kind of assaulted an officer, so then he says he's under arrest, and it's his dad. And there's some emotional stuff because he sees his mum around, and he knows she's struggling, but he can't help her, and his dad, he's taken into questioning, and he just doesn't want to believe the truth. He's a bad bloke, but then he ends up beating an officer, and then yet again he has to decide to do what's right or what is just And this series just genuinely has a lot of British charm to it, and that's why it's so funny. Like the words Gene Hunt uses, are very slang British words, and a guy from Britain, and I'm actually from the area that this takes place. This does make me laugh because I can relate, because like a lot of American comedies, it's not the kind of humour I hear around my area, so it doesn't have that charm to it, like American comedies and that. And yeah, the fact that this is a British show and has all that British charm is what makes me really love the show. And that's why I really do despise the fact that there is an American version of the show. Like I said before, you can't replace the cast, you just can't see anyone else in these roles, and they recast. Something great about the original show is it has that British charm and humour. This is going to have American charm and humour. And yeah, I hate it when they have to do this, Americans, because you don't see us making British versions of all your shows. I think we might have done it once or twice, maybe. I don't know if the British Office came out before the American one, but I mean, we hardly do it. Like, you don't see us getting Brooklyn Nine-Nine and making a British version. I mean, I'm not aware of any British version of that show because, what's the point in making an American version when we can understand your version just fine? And it's not the first time America has done this. They did it with In-Betweeners, and even though I haven't seen the American version, it looks like ass. The comedy sucks, because I've seen Instagram posts comparing scenes, and yeah, bus turds. Really, that's best you could come up with. Bus turds. Wow. Now, when I'm gonna give this show an A, just one away from being perfect. There's just those couple negatives I mentioned before, and genuinely, the graphics, they aren't the best. I mean, that's not really a big complaint, but if the graphics aren't the best, then it can't be perfect, can it? So yeah, intriguing story, very intriguing. Can't wait to see how it ends when, I finish season 2 or Ashes to Ashes, which I will review also. And how it just all makes sense. Like my grandma told me, at the end, everything all makes sense and just comes together, which I have trust in her that she's right. I'm hoping it's right. And yeah, also this show, so funny, you get a good laugh out of each episode, really. And the cast are great, the characters are great, the chemistry between the characters are great. So yeah, no, I can't, think of too much wrong with this show. And honestly, I recommend you check it out. It's on the UK Netflix. Not sure about American Netflix, but I mean, if this version is on Netflix, not the American version, if the UK version is on bloody Netflix, I think you should check it out because it is great. You probably might not understand some of the humour, but you'll pick it up, I guess, as you go along. So yeah. fabulous show. I fell in love with it very quickly. One of my favourite shows now. So yeah, you should check it out. Bye.